think it's been 3 days. I can understand every one of you are completely tired listening to a lot of GAN sessions. I will try to keep it as engaging as possible. Okay. So, how many of you actually use Meesho app? Okay, very few. It used to be almost zero a couple of years back when I asked in Tier 1 markets. Right now, it's changing. Right. So, the Meesho came into existence to basically question the status quo, where a decade back, Indian e-commerce started as a tier one phenomena where people always thought e-commerce is more for convenience-focused users, not for the price-focused users, right? So that is what we wanted to challenge, and we wanted to take it to the villages and make sure that people in every nook and corner of India can transact online, can sell online, and make sure that similar level of convenience which Tier 1 users are getting can be delivered to the Tier 3, Tier 4 plus markets. Right? That's where we came with this mission where we wanted to democratize internet commerce for everyone. In this journey, in last few years, we have more than 2 million sellers on the platform as of today. And on top of it, we have built this huge logistics ecosystem which caters to serving the needs of 160 million plus users who transact online day in and day out, right? The reason we were able to achieve this kind of a massive scale in Tier 3, Tier 4 markets especially is a couple of things which changed in the e-commerce. One is moving towards the zero commission model for all the sellers. In the past, sellers used to pay huge uh, marketing fees or fee for the platforms to list them. Now we made it completely 0% commission where they can just come, click on images of the products and just upload and start their business, right? And even we initially the e-commerce used to focus more on the tier one experiences where naturally people gravitate towards branded stuff, right? If even though there are a lot of interesting Indian brands which are making similar products at a much cheaper price point, no one wants to take them. Everyone wants the Nike shoes or Adidas shoes rather than something which was made in India, right? So that is what we have changed. I think most of the selection on Meesho, even today, is completely unbranded selection by a lot of sellers who are very small, running their businesses out of their houses in some places, and doing the manufacturing in their houses and selling it to whole Bharat, right? So in the journey of enabling all the small and medium enterprises and even reaching the 100 plus million users, uh, we have uh, broken a lot of records. One of them is like we have become the fastest shopping app in the world, not only in India, in the world to reach the 50 crore cumulative downloads. And we have been the most downloaded app on the App Store for 2 years in a row, 21, 22, right? And on top of it, we are the only, see, doing all this is great. A lot of places, a lot of marketplaces out there who are still not profitable, right? But we are the only horizontal e-commerce platform which is profitable while enabling the Tier 3, Tier 4 users and even small businesses, right? We are being recognized as the Times 100 most influential companies in the world, and we are the second company from India to get into that list, apart from NPCA, that is nothing but your UPI. Right? So, what makes Meesho unique, or what makes Meesho Tech unique? Because e-commerce is a solved problem. There are a lot of e-commerce apps out there in the world, but what is the difference? What we have to do differently in tech to enable this kind of users, right? Because for that, you need to first understand what kind of user personas we are catering to. If you look at it, our user base, 80% of them come from Tier 2 plus cities, not from the Tier 1 cities like where we are living, right? Most of them, or I think 30% of them are the first-time internet users. Forget about e-commerce, right? And on top of it, 70% of them are first-time online shoppers. They never shopped online. They never built the trust with any platform before. So that so this is a completely white space. What I'm talking about, right? It's like these are complete new internet users, new online shoppers who are coming and interacting with the app. where a lot of places they lack the basic skills to interact with a online app, right? And on top of it, on the seller side, as I mentioned, out of the 2 million sellers, 80% of them were selling uh, for the first time online. They never sold online. They might have businesses in their own towns or villages for last 100 years, but they cater to only 20, 30 kilometers radius, not beyond that. But with us, they started selling pan India, but they don't even know how to catalog their products, how to basically fulfill an order when order gets placed, right? All of that education we have to do, right? If I had to sit and make 2 million sellers understand how to do all this, it's not at all possible. That is where I think a lot of the AI interfaces comes into picture. For example, most of our cataloging process for sellers is completely automated. It's like you need not understand what product you are uploading. Rather, just take a picture and upload. We'll try to find the texture of it, color of it, and do all the listing, which is similar to a tier one seller would have listed, right, with all the attributes whatever required. So that's where we do a lot of automation using AI. On top of it, even when some of the users are coming to the app, right? So their persona, because of their persona, they don't understand search. For example, as a tier one user, if I go to any app, if I want to buy shoes, I will go and search for shoes. I will search for certain type of shoes, certain brand of shoes. I know what I'm doing because I'm a high intent user. I know how to navigate the complexities of search because we are all trained over years to do that. But most of these users, they don't even speak English, right? They don't even know how to type even in their mother tongue, right? How do you enable them to basically go search what they are looking for in the app at the same time uh, give them at a much cheaper price point than the local shops which they are getting a lot of this selection already, right? So that is the biggest challenge, where we had to reinvent ourselves multiple times, rebuild our tech stacks multiple times, just to cater to those users, where most of the decisions we have taken over years have been completely data driven. For example, in the beginning, we used to have a very bulky app, right? But we used to get a lot of uninstalls happening on the app. When we went and dig deeper, what we realized is like most of these people have low-end devices. What I meant by is they have hardly 1 GB RAM kind of devices, right? Where half of it is gone for Android OS. They can potentially afford to keep one or two bulky apps, right? Then we had to go back to the drawing board and make sure how can I make my client completely thin, where it should be bare minimum footprint on their disk, and most of the things should be done on the server or edge, right? These kind of pivots we had to do. For example, our app is now 13 to 14 MB range. We kept it at that for last 3 years, and this is the smallest e-commerce app in the world, not only in India, right? And that actually, these kind of learnings we get from a lot of data, right? In this journey, our business have grown like 100x as I talked before, the 2 million sellers plus 160 million transacting users, and it keeps on increasing. I think right now we're at 180 million or something like that. And as part of that, we even enabled completely logistics infrastructure. Most of the new age logistics companies you talk about, at some point, 50% of their volumes are going from Meesho, right? Right now, it got reduced to 35% because we have built our own logistics platform or a marketplace where we started delivering a lot of these things, right? And the secret sauce is nothing. It's like affordable prices, zero commission. We are an asset-light marketplace. So what it means for tech, right? So business growth is very good. All business leaders will be very happy. But the people like me who have to lead the tech are very unhappy with this growth because every quarter our order volume is to double. Whatever infrastructure I put up, whatever algorithms we come up with, they all start breaking after a point. And suddenly we have to rewrite a lot of tech stacks, right? So at some point we had 120x search query surge. Think about your search infrastructure, what it has to go through in a year's time. It's not in few years, right? And similarly, a lot of our API gateways and even because we are a data-driven company, we started collecting a lot of data and even storing a lot of data. Everything went off the roof. In that process, we try to partner with a lot of cloud providers. We try to partner with a lot of ISVs, but we have tested everyone's limits, right? So where we had to go back and every time we hit the limit because we can't expect them to solve our problems, we had to go back and figure out what other platform I can build on my own so that it can withhold the scale of India, which world has never seen. That we are the first ones to see those kind of scale numbers. If you look at the numbers itself, right, our API gateway basically have 70,000 requests per second, right? It's not minute or anything, right? Similarly, our A/B testing platform, that is bread and butter for any e-commerce app, where we'll be running hundreds of experiments for different cohort of users, right? It looks at 25,000, 250K RPS, right? Similarly, we have an ML platform which we built interestingly on our own, because none of the existing ML platforms were able to serve our needs. We had to keep on increasing and testing their limits. So we built our own ML platform, which now caters to 10 million inferences per second, right? So during regular days. And doing all this is fine, but the biggest achievement for us is to keep that overall latency very low. I'll tell you why we had to do that, right? Because our API latency as of now is average is 30 milliseconds. Reason we had to do it is like as I mentioned before, most of these users have very low-end devices, and their network is very flaky. It's like even if we go to a village, you will not get kind of 5G, 4G networks we are getting. They are still running on edge and even 3G networks, right? Making your app work with that kind of network requires you to be very low latent infrastructure. That's where we always look at our APIs keep on reducing the latency, and at the same time having that same level of availability and all that, right? So, for example, these are the peak numbers we achieved, and most of them are recently during Diwali sale. One of the interesting aspects of e-commerce is like on a regular day, if you are seeing some X volume, on a sale day because of offers and everything, you will see 3 to 4x of the volume. For example, this Diwali, when we ran the Maha Blockbuster sale, MBS, what we call it, right? On the first day of the sale, we have seen 15 million orders in a day, which never happened in Indian e-commerce before. Previous peak was held by us only. It was back in 2022. It was 8.7 million orders in a day. And think from tech perspective, right? As a technology team, you will basically maybe say that, hey, last year it was 8.7, let me prepare for 10, 11, right? But in the first hour of that sale, in the midnight, 12 to 1, we have seen 1 million orders coming through. Because most of our users are lower middle class and sometimes even BPL, right? For them, whatever price drops we are giving them during the sale is a huge, in terms of their percentage income, it could be 20-30% of their regular income, which they make in a day, right? They care about it. That's why they wait till the midnight when the prices flip and then go and grab whatever they can, right? This is a kind of users we are catering to. That's where I think we see a lot of peaks during the sale because of this deal-seeking nature. On top of it, whenever our competitors run the sale, because now we are known as a low-cost e-commerce platform for a lot of categories, especially for women fashion and all. A third-party benchmark says we are 30% lower than any other platform out there, right? So those cases, again, even if we are not running a sale, a lot of load comes onto us just because people come here to compare the prices before they make the decision to buy in any other platform, right? Some of these known, unknown peaks we had to cater to. For example, during this sale, the sale ran for 10 days during Diwali, and all 10 days the systems were up. There hardly any glitches at this scale, and even and the peak API traffic it is 650K RPS, which we ourselves not seen, and in the world very few tech systems would have seen this kind of scale, right? And on our ML platform especially, we have processed 7 trillion features. I'm not even talking about millions or billions, right? We are talking about 7 trillion features being computed, even 200 trillion rows of data being processed during that period. So these are the peak numbers we have seen in terms of app opens, like 183 million app opens is what we have seen, and even on a load balancer, we have 1.47 mm as a peak UPS. Right? Some of these are all fine, but the biggest thing is not only our system, a lot of other third-party systems like CDNs and all, they start seeing a lot of load on them because of us, because we keep offloading a lot of our application caches and even database load to the CDNs. Even CDNs started seeing, and none of the, not even one CDN was able to scale to our kind of load. Now we have to distribute between CDNs and run it, give images to someone, give the app traffic to someone else. And so that is how we have been managing, right? And and even on the DBs, naturally everywhere you have seen the scale in the application layer. Similarly on DB layer, we have seen uh, too much of databases, and even we keep innovating ourselves because at our scale, naturally, to keep the latency low, whenever scale increases, right, you have to look at the newest databases. For example, we use ScyllaDB a lot. For example, we use a lot of MongoDB even today, right? And most of them evolved. I think maybe in this process, we would have tested 10 other databases and would have used some other database maybe a couple of years back. Now it looks stale. And now something looks great, but after 6 months, it looks stale because of the volumes or because of the limits it keeps hitting. Right? So typically, as I mentioned before, right, our users are unique because it's a completely white space, new users to internet, right? We have to power a lot of interfaces differently. For example, our search, we are the first one in India a few years back to launch image search on the app, where you can just take an image of some shoe and upload, and you would see similar images popping up. And similarly, we support voice as a first-class citizen in the search in all vernacular languages, right? So people can speak to the app in their own language, and we understand. We basically start giving them the results. For example, someone can come and say, "Hey, I am looking for parda," right? You have to understand parda means curtains, and then give the right curtains and all. So all this semantic mapping and understanding the local languages, everything we have been doing even before the LLMs came. Now it has become easier for us because now we started using vector embeddings and a lot of other stuff. But even before that, we had to do a lot of engineering effort to make it work and implement a lot of data science models to understand the context and run them, right? Similarly, as I mentioned, right, so we have to make everything available in local languages. Even an app works in the local languages for the people who can't speak English or read English, right? And how do you make the parity across all these apps always there so that their experience doesn't go for a toss? And at the same time, we try to innovate a lot in terms of adopting all the newest systems. Like right now, we are already using HTTP 3 when whole world is running on HTTP 2, right? So so we do a lot of localization. The reason I mentioned was the low-end devices, right? So low-end devices poses a lot of challenge because now I mentioned I have to keep my app size at 14 MB. The moment I say I have to keep my app size at 14 MB, I cannot cache anything on the client. I cannot keep any information on the client. So still they need to get the tier one user experience sitting in that flaky network. How can I achieve that, right? So where we move a lot of our functionality to the CDN edges or the edge network and try to run there, which is much closer to the as good as you running it on the client, at the same time not as latent as you running everything on your data centers and servers, right? That is where we do a lot of things. For example, simple use case could be if someone is looking at a product image, depending on the different form factors, different type of devices, resolution, whatnot, right? All that resizing happens on the edge, right? And even we optimize CDNs to deliver optimal experience just because we even give a lot of hints to the CDN to tell, hey, this is the probable content you might have to go and save so that these users from this region. For simple example, like we run a lot of regional sales, right? Some of the festivals in India are basically local to a particular state or couple of states, right? There, a lot of those selection, I need to cache closer to them only in those states, not everywhere else, because that will not give me any value for money, right? Some of these decisions we basically take and even send those signals back to the CDNs and a lot of places to optimize. And so a lot of this edge computing we do, and that comes to it, right? So, and on top of it, bigger thing what we learned over the years is like, unlike tier one users, most of our users are browsing heavy in nature. For example, tier one users go to e-commerce apps when they have a high intent to buy something. These people are like most of the users we have, right, in tier 3, tier 4. They are used to a lot of the social networking kind of phenomena, right, where you just keep swipe up, swipe left, right, and then you'll get something and you stumble on something and you start looking. Even shopping, they do like that, where they don't search anything. Just go to the app, whatever recommendation they come, they just keep on swiping, try to figure out if there is something which is useful to them to buy. Right? This kind of behavior requires you to do the personalization at a user level, not even at a cohort level, right? That is where we deploy a lot of data science models and even we do a lot of real-time personalization, in-session personalization, which very few companies does in the industry, right? Where, for example, if I open my app and versus one of you opening your app, you will see totally different tiles coming up there, and you will see totally different kind of see the recommendation people have been doing for years. Like you look at the history and just do the recommendation. We don't just do the recommendation. We just even look at this user has a high propensity to look at the top products, not their own history-based recommendations. This user has a high propensity to look at something else, right? So all the tiles itself we change, and what widgets to show, what user experience to give, that itself is done in the real-time fashion based on the user, based on the device, based on the location, and everything else, right? That's where we have built this 3-tier prediction model, which basically hyper-personalizes everything, and even the product ranking itself completely changes based on this, right? So these are all fine, right? For seller side, we have automated everything using AI for cataloging and even listing their products and everything. On the user side, we hyper-personalized and did a lot of real-time personalization so that their browsing behavior converts itself into some orders, right? But as I mentioned, at our scale, running our call centers itself become a big pain. As I mentioned, if we have on a given day, if you are running some 5-6 million orders, but on a sale day it will become 15 million. So the volume of calls they get also will become 3x or 4x because of the number of orders itself has gone up, right? So I cannot get 3x or 4x of employees to come in and start answering these queries overnight, right? That's where we started investing in AI chatbots even before this LLM boom started. And we had a text chat engine which was serving 95% of our chat volume, and users cannot even perceive that it's a bot which is talking to them. It is that sophisticated. The way we built it is like we have built our own intent detection module, which is again our own homegrown detection module, which basically looks at different intents with which user comes. Let's say, for example, a user comes to look at where is my order kind of queries versus a user who comes here to say that, hey, I want to change my address, something like that, right? So different intents we try to understand based on the query and map it to the similar queries behind the scene and give it to a LLM agent, which is basically ring-fenced only for that intent. For example, every intent has an SOP attached to it, so that the biggest problem of deploying LLMs and a lot of this in chatbots is LLMs start hallucinating when you start asking them the question which is not relevant, right? That's where we ring fence it by saying that, hey, if you don't know answer, you cannot answer anything beyond this particular SOP for this particular intent. And if any question goes beyond that, just seamlessly transition it to the human agent, right? By doing that, we were able to offload 95% of the charge to the agent. At the same time, our CSAT has improved massively, right? Which is a side effect, which none of us actually expected. Because if a human agent is answering these queries, morning he will be fresh, evening he will be like you guys now sitting here after 3 days, right? Completely tired. They will be basically giving all random answers or maybe show their frustration on the user, right? All of that is gone with AI, right? With the success of the chatbot, now we have 3 months back we have deployed AI voice bot, right? Now this voice bot talks to the users. When you call our call center, this voice bot is the one which is talking to the users, right? Again, similar success we have seen here. Right now, 30% of our voice calls also go to this chat bot. Right now, we support only English and Hindi. We are expanding all other local languages now. In next few months, we'll be launching it across. Right? 30% of our queries actually come for English and Hindi speaking users. That's why this is 30% now. It means 100% of that cohort is already scaled. Remaining 70% is all local languages. That will scale in next few months, right? This bot has similar impact, right? So more than anything else, it has impact on the customer experience, how we basically gives a tier one experience to the customers. And these are the key features of the bot, where we have multilingual support, intelligent interruption handling. This is, for example, a lot of places you would have seen some screenshots. I was seeing some, I think, couple of days back, is one of the real estate bot giving some stupid answer to people who ask something random, right? So our bot never does that, just because of the ring fencing which I talked about before, right? Um, it even performs very well on the low-end devices. This is another important thing which we need to do, right? So because of the nature of users we have, low-end devices we have, how can bot perform well on the low-end devices? That is another significant improvement we have made. And we keep basically applying all the latest and greatest techniques, not only partnering with a lot of other AI companies, we also homegrown a lot of these AI. Because if I take any base model in the world, that will not work in the Indian context. You have to again retrain that on your own data. For example, especially a company like us, which is more vernacular focused, local language focused, none of this corpus is inbuilt into base models, right? Where you have to take it and again retrain all the models. For example, this voice bot, we retrained it on all our call records for last few years, so that it understands what kind of questions come and how the human agent have been answering, so it adapts to that, right? And most these are the key technologies which are powering that, right? So automatic speech recognition. Right now, our bot is still speech to text, text to speech. Now we are trying to figure out a way to make it speech to speech, so that that latency can go down even further. Even today, it's very low, and humans cannot even perceive the latency, right? And see, most of the success metrics we look for this kind of bot is like interaction should be human-like. That is visible in the CSAT improvements, and most of the resolutions should be done by the bot itself rather than offloading it to the human agent, right? We have 95% resolution right there, okay? And even the right now, if you look at the human agents, right, whichever call center I ping, people say, okay, people make you wait. Even the banks keep waiting, making you wait for 15 minutes to answer for 5 minutes, right? That goes down with the voice agents now. And most of the customer engagement is pinpointed conversation rather than random conversations. So that helps answer the queries quickly and get to the root cause quickly and solve the problem quickly, right? And this is a bigger achievement for us, is like building that intent detection model and solving the problem of hallucination using SOPs. Okay. This is our high-level ML platform architecture. Whoever is interested in can copy this, but this is much more powerful. This architecture, what we have done over last 2 years. Uh, I talked about the scale at which it is operating, right? This is a cutting-edge ML platform, I can say, in the world as of now. We are in the process of open sourcing it. We already announced that we are going to open source this ML platform so that people who are interested can adopt it and run it at scale, uh, right? And most of the tech we are building, we are figuring out the pieces which we can open source and contribute it back to the community, so that people can apply them at scale. Because if something works at Misho scale, which is equivalent to Bharat scale, it will work anywhere in the world, right? That is the POV with which we are going. That's it. I think if you have any questions, I am happy to answer.